Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining in. We are Duo Halo, and we are so excited to have the great composer Lori Laitman with us today to talk about her amazing work journey for alto saxophone and piano. Lori, thank you so much for being here.
Well, thank you for performing my music so beautifully and repeatedly, and for asking me to be talking to you today.
Yeah, we absolutely adored the piece, and I'm really grateful to you for taking the time to write for saxophone multiple times. But
Mm.
this one was very new to me when I first I was going through your catalog. I was telling Lori earlier, and I'll share this with all of you. Lori just did a wonderful premiere with the Sonoma County Philharmonic for a beautiful work for tenor vocalist and orchestra, and I was playing with the orchestra that season, so I was at the performance, and it made me go through the catalog again, hoping to find something new. But I found something I never saw before that had been there the whole time, and it just happened to gel so perfectly with this program that we're putting on.
Yeah, well, it was a pleasure meeting you. Thank you for coming. How exciting that you live in Santa Rosa. Yeah,
Yeah.
um, this piece had an interesting birth, I would say, because I basically only write for voice and instruments, or voice and piano or voice and orchestra. But my big thing is that I don't like writing for anything that doesn't have text. So originally, this was a song with text. It was a beautiful, what I can say about the poem was it was a beautiful poem, and it was about a slave mother coming over on a boat from Africa. Unfortunately, the poet, who I will not name, um, got angry at me, and for a reason I felt like she shouldn't have gotten angry at me for. But she took away her permission after I wrote this song, and then I was stuck with this beautiful song that could never see the light of day and still hasn't seen the light of day as a song. But I thought, what would it sound best with if I gave the vocal line to another instrument? And so I made it for saxophone and piano. And I do have a history of writing for saxophone, mainly I think because I lived near Gary Louis, the great saxophonist.
Yeah.
In his early days, in my early days, we actually lived about 10 minutes apart. And so my first big piece for voice and saxophone, I Never Saw Another Butterfly, was written for Lauren Wagner and for Gary Louis. And and then I wrote another piece for Gary, and then, so I feel comfortable writing for the saxophone. I was a flutist, by training. Still play on occasion under duress, but it's I love the sound of the saxophone. So and given the what should have been the words, it just seemed like the timbre of the saxophone was perfect for this song.
Mhm.
Um, I have since made many other arrangements because people have asked me for it. So it exists for violin, for oboe, for flute. I'm going to make a tuba and euphonium version, and I don't know what else. It seems to lend itself to many different sounds. And but my first love was the saxophone.
Yeah, I would agree. There's something about the piece that it has so many different coloristic aspects of it that I think there's something for everyone in there. And it was really a pleasure as a saxophonist to explore, getting into these like darker tones versus these brighter tones, like learning to do that vocalist style rubato
Hmm.
within that piece. And I'm lucky I get to play with Jason, who has a lot of experience with lots of instruments, but also with vocalists. So he knows how to kind of pace all of that out, and that
Yeah.
helps a great deal.
Well, what I want to say, because I just was listening to the recording you sent, is it's spectacular. I thank both of you. I would say one of the hallmarks of my music is the fact that there is so much freedom for the performer. And I
Mm-hmm.
really rely, and with great artists like yourselves, you have really um, used your imaginations in a way that brings so much color and so much life and so much freedom to the tempo that the piece really you lift it off the page and you make it your own, and it's so beautiful. Both of you are spectacular artists.
Thank you so much. Yeah,
Yeah.
without having the text, it was interesting to kind of decide what colors we wanted to use. So maybe we can talk about that after listening to it. Maybe you can give some insight on like what's happening in the
Hmm.
different parts of this piece.
I'll have to pull that up. I don't remember.
Okay, well, why don't we go ahead and listen to it? So I
Sure.
will share my screen here, and at this point, I'll be cutting, so we can say whatever we want. Share sound, share, and here we go. So glad Zoom put this right over. All right.
Bravo,
Thank
Robbie.
you.
Yeah, beautiful,
We
beautiful.
started.
You have such control over the dynamics. It's really, you know, it's hard to do what you do.
Thank you. Yeah, it's such a what I find really interesting about the piece, and maybe you can shed some light on this, like despite
Mhm.
the topic being quite grim, it has like a hopefulness to it. It ends in a very sort of melancholy place, but in the middle, it's really beautiful and almost like optimistic. And that kind of slowly fades away over time. But
Yeah, and I was actually when I was listening just now, I was looking at the original words, and seeing, what I did. I hope one day that the words can be released. Yeah, and during that hopeful spot, I mean, it was my response to the words, which was more about um not the dire circumstances that the woman was in, but more about the nature that she could still experience.
I see. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like in such a like a, again a grim situation, there's just this hopefulness to it, which is I think really cool how you can mix those two things together.
Yeah, well, that's the thing about grimness. There's still a little bit of hope, we still have the sun. So far, we'll see about 20 years.
Yeah.
We still have the air to breathe so far. And there's always something good, even in the worst of situations. And even in the worst of situations, of course, we're so lucky that we have our imaginations to free us from reality. And
Maybe that's a great message for the world we're living in today.
absolutely.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah,
well, Lori,
because
again, oh, I'm sorry.
reality,
Go ahead.
yeah, reality is not very good right now. Yeah.
No, not so much. Well,
Yeah.
Lori, thank you again so much for taking the time and for sharing this wonderful music with the saxophone.
Oh, thank
Yeah,
you.
we had such a great time playing it. And for those of you who are watching, the album is available at www.duohalo.com. You can pre-order it today, both physical and digital copies, and it will be releasing on December 2nd, Cyber Monday.
Yay.